Jonah, what'd you think about that so apropos ending to the 2025 Cowboys season?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. Andrew and I did the Cowboys postgame show earlier today, and, we made this point, and we've kind of made it throughout the course of the season. This season felt like it was kind of doomed from the get-go with the Micah Parsons trade just days before the season opener. And so it just felt like it was off the rails from the start, and it never really fully got back on it. There was a few-week stretch where you thought maybe they were a playoff team, but then you see a game like today against the Giants and, a bunch of backups and still unable to beat, a bad Giants team. And granted, Jackson Dart played the whole game, and he's a good young talent, but that's still a game the Cowboys should win. You would hope or think that they're talented enough to do that. And so it just felt like and I think Dak Prescott actually said it on his way to the podium today. He let out an expletive as he was getting seated and then, referred to that was kind of fitting to the whole season as well. Yeah, for Cowboys fans, a lot of expletives and a lot of head scratching and where they go from here.
Yeah, it was just like that exclamation point on everything that had to drive the fan base just batty this season, right? It was a confirmation that all the things that we thought were wrong absolutely were wrong. It felt like, when they practice a lot, there are periods where they call good on good, right? You have your number ones playing against your number ones. Well, this felt like bad on bad for large portions
put it like that.
of this game. Listen, and it was just the Cowboys' bad was really bad and hard to watch. And that Cowboys defense, which has been really, I would say, the boat anchor on this 2025 season, continued to drag them down. I don't think Cowboys fans were surprised at all. I think they've come to expect it. And because of it, we can expect change. Andrew, what stuck out most to you?
And I brought this up with Jonah. I thought the thing that stuck out to me was the half-measure version of this. They go in talking a big game about they're trying to build momentum toward next season. Like, this is all about trying to maintain continuity. Dak saying it carries over. And then he leaves the field without a lead in granted, a defensive breakdown that is one for the entire season, which is saying something based off of what this defense has put on film. But you don't let Dak walk off the field with a lead. The offense kind of sputtered a little bit, didn't convert the key fourth down late in that first half. And instead you turn to Joe Milton with a game that was kind of in the balance when you've got a potential get back to 500. We all talk about the narrative that Dak has never played a full season, where they didn't have a winning record. That kind of went out the wayside, although sure, didn't play the second half. You can try and play around like that. But there's certain elements like that. And then also from a division standpoint, I mean, we're talking about how close the opening week was with the Eagles. If CeeDee Lamb catches 2 more passes in that game, you have a chance to sit there and think, we're virtually 6-0 in division. In a division we thought going in they could be the third best team in. So by all accounts, there was a lot of momentum I feel like they left on the table by switching guys out in the second half. And aside from that, my only other takeaway is Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, I don't think we ever expected to see him have that kind of an impact on this team just in general, Joe.
Yeah, no, the numbers that he came up with, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, a recovered fumble, multiple tackles for loss, multiple pressures. I mean, he came up with a game the likes of which the Cowboys haven't seen since 1982. We're talking about 43 years. So, Jadeveon, that is what I call playing for another contract, brother. He saw money, he saw dollar signs, and I think he went out and got him. We'll see what the Cowboys do in terms of trying to keep him. I will say this, because I think you brought up a really good point there, Andrew. The Cowboys didn't live up to the rhetoric pregame, because they said that, hey, we want to finish strong. We want to end up 5-1 in the division. We want to end up 500 for the season. I'm glad that that was just rhetoric, right? Because Dak Prescott shouldn't have played 1 snap in this football game. So I'm glad that they finally sat him down at halftime, because the only thing that could have made that game worse was your quarterback getting hurt. So he didn't get hurt. That's obviously a positive. And they still ended up losing the game, which is also a positive. Because in terms of draft positioning, the Cowboys actually gained a spot or 2. They could have been 14 if things would have stayed. They're going to end up picking 12th with that top pick. And then they still got the pick from the Packers as well. So listen, in a weird kind of Jerry Jones way, it was a bad last game. It's actually going to work out okay. and I'm okay with it. I am.
Jonah, I don't know if the shot of Jerry in the stadium looking sullen like the Bernie Sanders meme from a couple years back had the same mantra that I think Joe has, where there's a silver lining in this. But do you agree with him in that regard?
I think Jerry's definitely feeling the burn. No, that was listen, it's going to be the same salesman Jerry as we hit the offseason here. And it just feels so perfectly Cowboys that they're going to have another contract dispute on their hands with George Pickens coming up, and whether to franchise tag him or are they going to try to extend him. And he's also another player who's earned a whole bunch of money by playing for the Cowboys this season. But when I kind of step back from this year, I see a lot of talented players on this Cowboys roster. There are, but I don't see a talented team. It's lacking key players at key positions at all three levels of the defense, depth. And we've seen this over the last few years as the Cowboys will try to go thrift shopping for guys in free agency to try and make things work at certain positions. And occasionally they'll hit, like bringing in Clowney and having him go for 8.5 sacks to lead the team is a win. But is that sustainable? Can you do that? Can you hit at the thrift shop, 8 out of 8? No. And so at some point, Jerry and this whole Cowboys front office is going to have to bite the bullet, probably do some contract restructures, and be aggressive for the first time in I don't even remember how long. It's been at least a handful of years since they've been aggressive in free agency. And so I don't see this team really getting dramatically better, playoff contending better until they take those next steps. And if they just keep trying to do, the bargain bin hunting, it's going to be the same position they've been in the last 2 years, and that is out of the playoffs.
No, there's no doubt about it. They've got to be more aggressive. And in that sense, let's talk more about that coming up. We're going to take a break here, but afterward, we do need to talk about how does the rebuild of the defense look? How do they go about it? What should that look be in terms of the future, that Cowboys defense? Because it certainly needs help. We'll talk about that coming up next on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Let's start there when we talk about the Cowboys and the rebuild that they will have to do with that defense. Because listen, we all hope that they're going to re-sign Javonte Williams. We certainly are hoping that they can figure out a way to get a deal done with George Pickens. So let's just table the offense for a second, and let's start with the defense. And here's the first thing I've come up with, Jonah. You got to get rid of one of them in terms of the Cowboys' defensive line. Quinnen Williams, Osa Odigizua, or Kenny Clark. Who goes to save yourself some salary because you got to pay those guys on offense?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you have to pick, I think it's pretty obvious that you would have to let Kenny Clark go. One, the age factor. Two, you just paid Osa and a large amount as well. And Quinnen is he makes the whole engine run at this point. So yeah, I mean, if you had to pick, I would say probably letting Kenny go. I think my bigger question is, what are they going to do at defensive end? Because Donovan Ezeraku flashed. He had some good moments throughout his rookie season, but he hasn't had a sack since Monday Night Football against the Cardinals. So
should have had one today.
Should have. But they
didn't decline the penalty.
Exactly.
But there was still a rookie wall the back half of the season, regardless. And Clowney at his, he'll be 33 next season, and while he had a great year, I don't know how much you can bank on that, being exactly the case this year. He also had 3 against the Giants today. That skews the numbers a little bit. So I would look at Clowney maybe if they bring him back as a rotating third option at defensive end. Then who are really your bookends there? I mean, is Ezeraku good enough to start at this point? So I wonder if they try to be aggressive and bolster the ends, because it looks like clearly they've got interior defensive line taken care of with Osa and Quinnen, and we'll see about KC.
All right, what about you, Andrew? You got to get rid of one: Osa, Quinnen, or Kenny.
I want to preface this by saying I have been the Kenny Clark apologist on this show since the trade happened. I have been regular on that, but he's got to be. Jonah mentioned it's the age part of it. And I think the sad thing is when you look at this Cowboys defense, front seven's the part I don't have an issue with. I mean, you can argue the linebacking core needs to get updated. I'm 100% with you on that. But this is all a secondary issue. The pressure will make a difference. Obviously, pressure changes how well corners look. I'm not saying that's not a significant piece of it, but I like the defensive line. I like even the ends that they've got right now. If Ezeraku blooms a little bit and they can keep the last vestiges of Clowney's career going, then that's fine. they got to stop letting everyone run wide open in the back end, Joe.
Yeah, I don't like the ends that they have. I don't particularly like the linebacking core. I certainly don't like the back end. I don't like the defense very much, and if it wasn't for the saving grace of the defensive line, I wouldn't like any of it. I mean, you need a complete restoration, right? You got some good bones in my guy Quinnen Williams that can be the foundation of this new house that you have to build. But outside of that, man, it's just. Listen, if someone would take a flyer on even trying to move Osa Odigizua, you have to think about it, right? I mean, again, he hadn't distinguished himself enough to even make himself trade worthy, and that's part of the problem with what you're dealing with. And that's why I say you can get rid of the whole thing. Just get rid of the whole thing. Who's your defensive coordinator going to be?
Yeah.
What do they stress? What's important for them to maximize the people that they have and go down that route? This needs to be a complete tear down, and you got to do it as quick as you can because your window for your quarterback, who's playing better than Dak Prescott ever has, is closing quickly, and Dak would even say that himself, and he knows it. He's going to say he's going to work as hard as he can to keep his body and everything going as long as he can. But, I mean, you got a couple years where he is going to be optimum Dak, and you need to try and hit it during that time.
My concern with that approach is, and I get it, they were league worst defense practically the entire season, but some continuity has to exist to some degree. I mean, a complete overhaul feels like, again, you're going to start out the next season with a lot of these same issues once over. I have 5 defensive coordinators in 5 years, Jonah. How often are we going to keep this rat race going?
You want continuity of what we saw this year?
I'm saying some continuity. I said get rid of the back end, or there's got to be something that I don't know how else to phrase it. Because again, time can build connections. I think Osa did a lot for this team on and off the field, especially in and around Marshawn Nealon stuff. But Jonah, your thoughts on that regard?
Well, I go back 2 years. I thought letting Dan Quinn go when they were still wishy-washy about McCarthy, that was an opportunity where they probably could have promoted Dan Quinn and had the defense playing, almost better than anyone else in the league. And obviously, the loss to the Packers in the playoffs will be remembered not fondly by Cowboys fans, but it's just so hard to see the juxtaposition 2 years later with this team, and a vaunted defense, everybody flying all over the field, and now it just looks like they sit back and just get picked apart by everyone. The new DC, whoever it is, and this is again just assuming Eberflus is let go at some point in the next couple of weeks. He's got to come in and do a full assessment: who's going, who can stay, and then they got to get to it and get to work on finding guys that fit.